Howdy folks. As everybody knows, this here Skirmish come out for Age of Sigmar this weekend. I've had a chance to play a couple of games, and I'm going to go through page by page through the book here. Then I'm going to come back afterwards and give y'all some of my thoughts about it.
Okay folks, here's the Skirmish book. Of course, it's a softback book, $10. It's about the thickness and quality of the old, I guess of the Silver Tower book, if you have that one. Maybe it's just a little thicker cover, but about the same quality. And of course, high quality Games Workshop, color, shiny, everything, real nice. Alright, I'm going to go through it page by page. Of course, this is in the front of every single book they got. It's just a little tale of how chaos took back over and then took over everything again. Alright, now up in here is the first couple pages to tell you how to use the book. It's telling you about, you got smaller scale units to use in a skirmish. And this is telling you how you got a warband roster that's able to be photocopied and all. And this is telling you that you're going to find 6, you can play them with any battle plan, but you're going to find 6 new battle plans that is designed especially for the skirmish battles. And this here is telling you a little bit about match play, and they're telling you about their new system of points. It's called Renown. And over here, this is giving you just basically why they made this game. And it says the smaller scale gives hobbyists a good opportunity to devote more time to the individual miniatures. A lot of people like to, build up and add with using little bits and converting miniatures over, and to giving their warbands a personality to them. And then it says over here for the tactical minded, it's good, but because it's so the action is very swift, so you can play several battles in the course of one day and get in a whole campaign in one day. So now you go over to here, the next couple of pages. Of course, you got some of this beautiful artwork. It's showing surprise, Stormcast taking on some Bloodbound, but this is all going to tell you the Vengeance of Azir here. This is basically going to give people who don't know anything about Age of Sigmar or Warhammer or anything the overview of how Sigmar came to power and how the ruinous powers of chaos just took everything back over, and I think everybody knows this story. This next page is going to give you some really good pictures of Sylvaneth fighting up against Nurgle, and some very good artwork there. But it's also going to tell you basically about some of the realms. It's going to describe the realm of life, describe the realm of death, and describe, just some of the overview of how you have different realms in Sigmar. And then over to here, it starts talking about Shadespire, which was a city type deal in the realm of death. And it was prosperous at one time, and now, something got up, named Nagash, destroyed it. Now it's just basically a wasteland surrounded by a sea of bones and this and that. And this is telling you the whole fluff about that. How Nagash got all mad and destroyed everything. This is telling you, this has got another couple pages about these treasures of these suckers called the Cato Frames, I reckon. Cato Frames. And it's just telling you how they were like a kind of an advanced intelligent civilization, and a lot of their relics and stuff is buried down under the sands, and it's a big deal nowadays of war bands and whatnot going in there and trying to recover this technology and these relics of power and such things like that. And it's got a nice little map in here of showing just an area of Shadespire, and I like how Games Workshop is starting to include more maps and things like that in some. Now you get down to showing some pictures of a fight in the cemetery there. A new big cemetery two Garden of Moors together with on a discount just came out, so that's going to come out in this book. This is talking about the haunting grounds, and this is just a little fluff story about how a certain night questor right here got jumped by a bunch of ghouls and whatnot up in a cemetery, and this is just basically fluff. So you got the first quarter of the book is nothing but the fluff. And now you're going to get over here to the rules themselves. Now, like, there's really only about 2 or 3 pages of rules. And the rest is some charts, the scenarios themselves, and some more charts. That's it. But right here they're going to tell you, page 16, about how it goes. What a skirmish battle plans, what your war bands are. Now it's where it gets important right here. Skirmish formation. Unlike in Sigmar, where you got to keep your guys within 1 inch of each other, that don't apply here at all. Even when you buy guys on the same war scroll. Each person, or each model, is an individual unit, even people from the same war scroll. So, you don't have any kind of unit coherency whatsoever. So here it says everybody's got to choose an allegiance to death, chaos, or order, or destruction. It's telling you up here, your general, you got to have a general that's got a hero keyword. It's telling you right here that there's no, you don't use the inspiring presence command ability from the regular Age of Sigmar game. Instead, they have ones that's generated over here, a good bit, 6 of them here, that you generate command abilities, and you also gain them later on during the campaign. You probably end up with most of these. It looks like if you complete the campaign, you'll have most of these abilities, and they want you to use these in lieu of that inspiring presence. So they do say you can use the ones on your war scroll. Now it's telling you about battle shock tests. You're not taking battle shock tests per unit, you're taking battle shock tests overall. You're using your generals, just your general's bravery, whatever you taught your general's bravery, and you basically take it like your whole war band is 1 unit, and you roll, and it works basically the same way. Here's where they nix out summoned units, and they just do it all in 1 paragraph. They just say no summoned units whatsoever, in any circumstances, none. Then they're going to give you that rule of 3 again. That's your normal rules of 3. Only 1 spell, per wizard per turn, and then 1's always miss, and you can't generate extra, attacks and stuff off of rerolls and stuff. Now they're going to run down your list of command abilities. They're going to give you artifacts of power, because you can only take these artifacts of power or the artifacts pertaining to your alliance, your grand alliance. You cannot take them, let's say Bloodbound and things of that nature, and Stormcast. You can't take those. You must take these. Some of these are alright, and it's something new. Here again, mysterious terrain. When you put terrain out for these battles, you don't roll on the regular terrain table. You're going to roll on this table here, and it gets you a couple of different things up in there. And I like crumbling there. Collapses and takes everybody with them. Like it. Okay, then you get into the Shakespeare campaign rules. This is going to tell you how the campaign itself is going to go down. And basically it tells you it's a one-on-one campaign for 2 players, and you run down these 6 scenarios in order. Okay, and victory in the final game establishes the winner of the overall campaign. It doesn't matter. You can lose all 5 and still win. All you're doing is trying to gain more renown for that 6 scenarios. It's going to give you an advantage by having more guys. Gives you an underdog bonus per game here. And if your difference in renown is this and that, you're going to get these number of rerolls that you can use on any of these rolls. Of course, you can't use it on the initial roll for a turn, but you can use it on that stuff there. Now, in between games on this thing, you're going to roll for the rewards of the battle. You're going to earn and spend your renown. Now, this little chart here is going to tell you how much renown you get for different victories, and even on a loss, you're going to get some, And this here says any renown you earn may be spent immediately, and unlike Shadow War, you can save this renown here. and hold it up, because there's some units that just going to cost a lot more than 10, because 10 looks like the max you're going to be able to get at any one time. Now over here you're doing the rewards of battle. It's basically just things that are going to give you extra things. It's going to go buffs that's going to be used in subsequent battles later on there. Now, how you get it here, you got a major or minor victory. You take 3 dice and you pick the 2 that you want to add up to any of these scores to get any of this. Now, if you lost, you're going to still get to roll, but you just roll 2 dice and you have to take what they give you here. Now, if you look at this, and if you know anything about 2 dice being rolled together and the odds of different events happening and bell curves of probabilities of a dice there on 2 dice, you're going to realize on this thing, if they got 6 to 8 here, you normally, about almost a half of the time, all you're going to earn is die 3 extra renown. And then you got a bunch of extra, special things on the outside of it. But if you roll 2 dice together, you basically got a 6, you got 16 different ways out of the 36. You're going to get that right there. So, over here, it's got another chart here that's for different wizards. If you roll over here, you can get an ancient relic that allows you to gain an additional spell that you can use with your wizards there. Okay, and this over here, this page is breaking down the Shadespire campaign. Each one of them scenarios has a different little special rule. The first one's pretty much straightforward. And then the second one's the winner can randomly generate an artifact of power and this and that. And then it says, if this guy won the previous battle, he's automatically plays this side or that side. And it breaks down each scenario basically like that and gives a couple more little things you're going to have to remember if you're playing the thing. But now over here, talking about skirmish match play. And it tells you about the 3 scenarios that's best for that. And it's talking about the renown system, how it breaks down, and for pickup games, they recommend 50 points around here for just the pickup games. They recommend you put in house rules for yourself to limit different restrictions on types of units.
Alrighty then. Now that you done seen all that, I'm going to break it down to you and what I think about it. Alright, first of all, I guess you noticed there's only about 2 to 3 pages of actual rules in the thing. You got that big fluff section in the beginning. You got a page of rules. You got a couple pages of charts. And then you got another page of rules there, a page and a half, and then you got another couple pages of charts. And so then you got basic rules in there about how you're going to run the scenario. The campaign. And a lot of people was thinking this was going to be a lot closer to Shadow War, which has just come out for 40K, and where you had a group of individuals and they're all vying for, in kind of a round robin deal, playing each other in a tournament style thing for a number of weeks, and then the guy with the most points, each faction's war bands, gain experience and gain more members and better equipment and whatnot, and go up, and you have an eventual champion after a few weeks. A lot of people thought that's what this was going to be, and actually they don't have it like that. Of course, this one's set up to be a one-on-one in a series of those 6 battles in a row, 1 through 6. And the only advantage it is to win in the first 5 battles, according to them, is you gain more renown than your opponent, so on that 6th battle you'll be stronger. Now, of course, you saw they had built-in ways for underdog to try to even it up on the battles later on, 2nd, 3rd, 4th battle and whatnot. As an underdog, if you're under a certain amount of points, you get re-rolls during the game that you can take to try to even it up somewhat. But the advantage is of them first 5 games is getting you ready, trying to gain an advantage for the 6th game, which is the game to win the campaign here. Now, all 4 of them scenarios are good, especially that last one with the storm where it moves in and all. They're all good. The first one's actually good too, the dawn, where it gets lighter you know, and the way they have you set up in those quadrants, it's kind of like, oh, it was dark and everybody's wandering around in the dark, and all of a sudden it got light, and here is everybody, and we got to fight close quarters. So that's kind of good. So what you're really paying for here with your $10 is those 4 scenarios and the campaign overview and rules, and those charts in there that are specific to this skirmish game. All right, that being said, is it good? Is it worth $10? Yes, worth $10. Is it up to replace Age of Sigmar? No. Is it good for beginners? Even better than Age of Sigmar? I'm gonna say maybe yeah. If you can get them a very low model count, and that's what I'm talking about here. One of the drawbacks to this, when I played higher renown points battles, you got too many units, because each individual model becomes a unit, which activates during close combats and charges and all this, and it becomes a lot, because if you got 10 of one type of a unit, say Blood Reavers, man, each one of those guys is a unit that's going to activate back and forth during. It can get a little bit complicated. Another thing I think, man, a lot of those units like Blood Reavers, and Dryads, and things like that was meant to be used, and they do better in big units, you know, and they have buffs. So, you know, this unit gives them +1s attacks and this and that. They're not as strong in this game here. They're kind of cut down, and you know, they can't rely on these synergies that they get in different war bands and stuff. They're relying on synergies. They're going to suffer a little bit. And also the summoning, it's kind of strange in here how they're going to include death and do a couple pages on death and whatnot, man, and then you just outlaw summoning altogether. That pretty much shoots Zinch down, shoots death down. I don't know why they did that, but is it good for getting people started, kids and all? I mean, it's about the same as Age of Sigmar. You can get it more complicated. Say if you go up too high in the renown, and I think all match play head to head ought to be about 50 renown. You go any higher, man, you just get too much. And I started to make a bunch of lists myself to play some battles, and I just purposely tried to made them 50 renown, but I purposely tried to keep the points down. Or the number of models down low. So you had just 5, 6, 7 models at the most on either side. And I'm going to be playing some of those in battle reports that I'm going to be putting out here soon, and so you can see how that works. It just gets some of my earlier battles I played too many units. About the only other thing that's different is I wanted to say that you can use any models from Age of Sigmar in here. There's some fellas that come up with a formula. You basically just take the points per model. You can figure that out by the Sigmar. If you got 5 guys for 100 points, they're 20 points each, and then you divide that by 5, and you're going to get how much renown each model will cost you there. For example, a Liberator, there's 5 of them in a unit for 100, let's say, and they're 20 points each in Sigmar. You divide that by 5, and they're 4 points each here in this game here. Now, that don't work exactly for every single unit, but that's kind of a rule of thumb, how you can put other units that ain't listed in here if you wanted to play. You know, they got them kind of restricted here to stop the monsters and the bigger things, but although they do have some pretty hardcore units like that Lord of Khorne, Mighty Lord of Khorne there, and some other units in there that's fairly powerful. But you could use any units you want. Like I said, I don't think it's a replacement for Sigmar. I think it is very good to use as a basis for your own role-playing games. If you wanted to start up a little war band, kind of, you know, a dungeon crawler type thing, or, you know, just RPG, like I'm saying, you start up a little war band. You could get a war band and say, yeah, you got to start with a certain number of little renowned, and that's going to allow you to fight some of these very smaller battles and allow you, you know, to easily match up what the points are, and as long as you don't overwhelmed with a bunch of units. It could be fun on that smaller scales. You can get more detailed, more into the storyline of it and the backstory and how these guys can actually advance. And that's a lot of the fun of it can be to taking one of these generals and one of these war bands and making them larger and advancing them up. And that's always been the fun of it ever since D&D first dropped down, ain't it? So anyway, I think it's worth $10. Get down to your local Games Workshop, pick it up. It's worth $10. See y'all.